Hey guys, tonight we drift into a strange little corner of the galaxy, where laws are sung, names have gravity, and one quiet word can accidentally bind two souls. Beneath a sky lit not by stars but by aurora plasma rivers, a rogue pilot named Race tears through atmosphere in a ship that doesn't technically belong to him. The vessel, sleek, old, and humming in an alien dialect, rattles under atmospheric stress as he wrestles it through the upper cloud belt of the quarantined moon, Ara-6. The ship's original owner is long gone, its AI mute from entropy, and Race only barely knows how to keep it from collapsing mid-flight. The controls are organic, grown like coral, and they sing in tones rather than buttons. He flies by feel and stubborn memory, two things humans are dangerously good at. The moon's surface rises fast. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while we glide into tonight's tale, let me know your local time and where you're listening from, Earth side or beyond. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The crash isn't elegant. The ship skids across obsidian dust and heat-warped metal until it wedges nose first into a half-buried Ajirathi signal temple. Alarms snarl, the hull groans like an old animal, and Race coughs on his way out, boots crunching glassy soil. He's not expecting anyone else to be here, which is why, when the low thrum of a pulse rifle hits his ears, he freezes mid-step. From a ridge overlooking the wreck, a tall, bronze-gold figure approaches, shoulders squared, robes billowing, hair like polished blackstone threaded with silver. She holds the rifle like a staff, upright but ready, and her gaze is sharp as cut crystal. Ajirathi. Old blood. Rare now. Maybe the last. You are trespassing, she says, her voice layered, like wind moving through glass bells. This moon is sacred silence. Race blinks. I didn't exactly land here on purpose. She doesn't lower the weapon. I am Liratheya, speaker of the Third Harmonic House. You are Race Tavin, human vagrant and former courier thief. That vessel belonged to diplomat Solrin, who vanished near the Farn Rift. Race lifts his hands. Hey, I didn't kill him. The ship was drifting, unmanned, unscreamed. I just salvaged it. That vessel was bonded. To him, maybe, Race says, still calm. Not to me. Liratheya stares at him. There's a shift in her tone, something testing. Speak his name. I didn't know him personally. She tilts her head. Speak my name, then. Race hesitates. He hears it as she said it, Liratheya, but under it, beneath it, there's a vibration. Something she didn't quite say aloud. He feels it, not in his ears but his chest. A harmony. Almost without meaning to, he mimics it. A cascading triad, humming across his throat. Liratheya, but not in words. In resonance. The moment it leaves his lips, the air shifts. The rifle clatters to the ground. Liratheya's breath catches. She stumbles back a step, eyes wide in utter disbelief, her skin flushed in waves of soft gold. The surrounding stones shudder with a low harmonic tone, echoing what he just sang. You, she breathes. You spoke my soul name. Race blinks. I did what now? You sang it, she says, voice hushed. Accurately. You shouldn't be able to. Not with a human throat. Guess I'm full of surprises. She kneels, not in reverence, but in shock, and whispers to the stone. It is law now. It cannot be undone. Race squints. What law? Liratheya slowly raises her head, solemn now. By Ajirathi bond code, if one not of my blood speaks my soul name without hearing it first, then we must spend one night in soul-attunement. Alone. No technology. No interference. Just two beings. One chamber. One pulse. Race exhales. You're kidding. I am not, she says, tone bone serious. And you should begin to pray to whatever gods your species holds. Because the dome awaits. Race looks at the temple's distant silhouette, its silver frame glinting under twin moons. Yeah, he mutters, rubbing his forehead. I've had worse Tuesday nights. Race is still processing what just happened when Liratheya strides past him, silent and swift, robes whispering against the wind. She doesn't look back, but her voice trails over her shoulder, low and unshakable. Follow. He does. Because what else is he going to do? Refuse a centuries-old alien rite that he's apparently triggered by singing a name like some untrained bard. The dome glints ahead, half buried beneath folds of basalt and dust, shaped like an egg laid gently into the planet's skin. No doors. No seams. But as they approach, it opens. A quiet inhale of pressure as if the structure had been waiting. Race pauses at the threshold. Inside, it's dim. The walls glow faintly with bioluminescent ridges that resemble coral veins, blue, gold, and soft green. The air hums, not mechanically, but like it's thinking, as if the structure itself is alive and aware of who has entered. He murmurs, "You sure this thing doesn't eat humans?" Liratheya doesn't answer, though her lip twitches just slightly. She walks to the center of the chamber, where a circular mat made of interwoven light strands slowly rises from the floor. Around them, glyphs spiral into view on the dome's curved interior, singing in a language Race doesn't know but somehow feels. It's not translation. It's resonance. This was built during the era of the fourth vibration, she says, removing her gloves. It was a time when my people still believed in soul pairing without political advantage. Race squints. And this place was for couples? No, she meets his gaze. For initiates. For those who triggered the bond protocol unintentionally. He laughs under his breath. So I'm not the first idiot to accidentally propose to an alien with a sound. She actually smiles. You may be the first human to do it in pitch-perfect harmonic frequency. Galactic scholars still argue whether Ajirathi names even can be heard by non-native ears. Apparently, your brain didn't get the memo. Race shrugs. I used to hum along with star mapping signals as a kid. Maybe that rewired something. You are not entirely uninteresting, she murmurs. He places a hand on the edge of the mat, then glances at her. What exactly happens if we comply with this ritual? Liratheya kneels beside the mat, her fingers gliding along the strands, which glow more brightly at her touch. We enter soul-attunement. It is not physical in the sense humans expect. Her gaze holds him. It is emotional proximity, neural harmonics, shared breathing, a night where we feel one another's memories without words. The chamber facilitates it. That's all. If either of us rejects the link, she adds, our nervous systems will destabilize. There have been unfortunate incidents. One Ajirathi ambassador reportedly spoke in fractal syntax for the rest of her life after severance. Race blinks. You really buried the lead there. Liratheya tilts her head. Do humans not risk things for connection? Only when drinks are half price, Race mutters. The dome lowers its ceiling slightly, an architectural nudge that it's time to begin. The temperature shifts, growing warmer, though no source of heat is visible. Race sits opposite Liratheya, mimicking her posture, cross-legged, hands palm up. She begins a slow rhythmic breath, and Race follows, unsure why, but compelled. With every inhale, a faint tone rises from the floor, matching their heartbeats. After a minute, they fall into sync. Race feels a strange pressure behind his eyes, like he's about to dream while still awake. Let go of your name, she says softly. For this night, you are not Race. Then what am I? You are simply pulse and presence. That sounds poetic. Do not flatter yourself. It's protocol. The chamber darkens. Race begins to feel things. Not thoughts, but emotional colors, like flashes of someone else's childhood. The sound of liquid crystal bubbling. The sensation of being suspended in gravity wells during youth training. A memory of loss so sharp it cuts him to the bone, watching a twin flame extinguish over a battlefield of silken ice. It's her. He's feeling her past. Liratheya, he whispers. Her eyes flicker open. You should not speak during attunement. Then tell your memories to stop punching me in the chest. Her smile is tight but genuine. I did not think you could feel them. It usually takes days. Guess I'm efficient. They sit in silence again, their shared breath a metronome for the room. Then something shifts. Race suddenly recalls his own past, but not through memory. Through her. He sees himself, age 12, huddled in a cargo pod listening to rain on a titanium roof. He feels her interpretation of his sadness, her awe at his persistence. She murmurs, "Your species hides sorrow in jokes. We sing ours into the stars. Sounds healthier, only when someone listens." Around them, the glyphs begin to dim. A soft note echoes from the ceiling, descending like a lullaby, bringing a quiet, emotional calm. Race's muscles release tension he didn't know he held. "We will sleep soon," she says. "But the link, it will deepen. I'm not afraid." She studies him for a moment. "You should be." A pause. Then she says, almost like a confession, "I have not done this since I lost my bonded." Race looks at her, really looks. There's grief there, but not sharp. It's old, like polished stone. "Then maybe we just breathe," he says, "and let the dome do the rest." The chamber responds with a sound like distant stars whispering across metal. Liratheya closes her eyes again. "Yes, just breathe." They sit beneath the ancient dome, two species, one law, and a night designed to bind what was never meant to connect. And slowly the pulse hums on. The night doesn't fall all at once. It ripples. Inside the dome, there is no moon, no exterior to track the passage of time. But something shifts in the air, thicker, slower, as if the walls have decided that the day has died and rest must come. The tones deepen. The floor's glow dims to a charcoal blue shimmer. The air grows denser, like velvet draped over thought. Race tries not to fidget, but the pressure behind his sternum has become a low throb. Not painful, just present, like being watched by a memory. Across from him, Liratheya's breathing slows to a near meditative rhythm. Her hands rest in her lap, the fingers barely twitching as her thoughts flow. Race can't tell if she's awake or already drifting into the deeper stages of neural resonance. He's about to speak when the dome pulses once, soft but firm. The signal is clear, no talking now. Instead, his own thoughts begin to unfold without his permission. His mother's face, moments before she put him on the refugee skimmer out of the belt collapse. The way she smiled, cracked-lipped and brave, even as her eyes screamed that everything was already over. He never saw her again. And then, stranger still, he feels her memory of that same moment. Not literally, but her reaction to it. Through the bond, her consciousness brushes against his like water joining water. He senses her awe. Not pity. Respect. The Ajirathi do not leave their young. Ever. They fuse memory strands from parent to child, so nothing is ever truly lost. That race survived alone, without memory inheritance, astounds her. She tastes the wound and recognizes the strength beneath it. That's the first moment Race feels something shift. Not attraction. Not affection. Just acknowledgement. That this isn't just some cultural exchange gone wrong. It's revelation. The dome continues its quiet work. Above them, the ceiling begins projecting images. Not video. Emotion-encoded light. The Ajirathi call it Varith, or deep memory art. Glowing threads of moments flicker and unravel across the dome's surface. Events so ancient they're nearly myth. An Ajirathi elder steps onto a glacial bridge woven of living crystal. A human child kneels beside a broken machine, fixing it with nothing but wire and spit. A battle where no one wins, and yet a song is born in the ruins. The dome is curating their combined memories, weaving a story neither of them could tell alone. Liratheya opens her eyes. "You're leaking," she murmurs softly. Race chuckles, voice low. "Yeah, well, this dome's kind of poking around in places I didn't label public. It likes you. I usually only get that from defective vending bots." She turns slightly toward him. Her skin is luminous in the ambient blue, the gold markings along her collarbone shimmering with the dome's response. "In the old traditions," she says, "Ajirathi believed that if a soul name was spoken uninvited, it meant the universe was aligning forgotten destinies. Our ancestors would say this night was fated." Ray scratches his jaw. "And you?" She considers. "I think fate is what weak people use to explain coincidence. Bold talk for someone following an ancient law to the letter." "I follow it," she says, "because to break it would erase my people's last ritual. Not because I believe in cosmic puppeteers." There's a pause. Race lays back on the mat, hands folded behind his head. The material is softer now, responding to his posture, adjusting temperature and firmness. The dome wants him comfortable. And what happens if we finish this ritual? He asks. Does it change something in you? Liratheya reclines beside him, not touching but close. Her hair spreads like liquid silver across the mat. I will no longer be speaker, she says. My lineage will transfer to you, in name and right. My service will be voluntary, not bound by duty. He turns his head to look at her. You'd serve a human? Just because I said a name I didn't even know. It's not about the name, she replies, gaze on the dome's faint glow. It's about what followed. You didn't flee. You didn't mock it. You breathed with me. You stayed. Race smiles faintly. I stay in bad situations a lot. Some would call it poor judgment, or loyalty. The dome responds to that word, loyalty. A warm pulse of light washes over them, gold and violet. The mat shifts again, forming a shallow depression where they lie, like a cradle carved by intention. Race exhales slowly. Your people, they think in music. Liratheya turns to face him. We don't think. We remember. Memory is the first and final language. He nods. Humans don't have memory traditions like that. We forget. We distort. Sometimes we lie to ourselves just to keep going. She doesn't respond for a long while. Then she says softly, perhaps that's your strength. What is? To keep going, even after memory fails. They lie there, not touching, but so close now that their body heat blends. The dome continues its symphony, tones harmonizing, light weaving faint strands of violet mist through the air. Race closes his eyes. The final pulse of the evening begins to rise, a deep, resonant vibration that moves not through ears, but through bone and thought. Liratheya's voice reaches him through the quiet. Do you feel it now? He nods. Yeah. The bond. No, he whispers. You. The dawn inside the dome doesn't break. It breathes. A shift in tone from low, sustaining hums to higher, more crystalline vibrations nudges both bodies gently toward waking. The floor warms just slightly. A thread of soft green light pulses along the ceiling's edge, like a heartbeat returning after a long slumber. Race opens his eyes first. He's not disoriented, just quiet. A stillness he hasn't known in years sits on his chest like silk instead of stone. For a moment, he wonders if he dreamt the night. If the harmonic ritual, the shared thoughts, the unspoken warmth were all just some elaborate neurological prank. Then he turns his head. Liratheya sleeps still, her body relaxed in a way he hadn't thought her species capable of. Her breathing is slow, elegant. The glyphs on her skin, previously reactive and alert, now dim and serene. She looks less like an emissary, and more like someone who's finally been allowed to let go. Race doesn't move. He watches. And then, as if sensing him without sight, she opens her eyes. There's no surprise in them. Just recognition. He offers a quiet morning. In the dome, she says softly, there is no morning. Only memory and moment. Well, Race replies, sitting up and stretching, this moment smells a lot like recycled air and cosmic destiny. She actually smiles. Just faintly. Did it work? He asks. Liratheya rises gracefully, her robes shifting into place like they'd rehearsed it. Define work. Are we attuned? Are you bound? A pause. I feel changed, she says. But not like before. How's it different? Liratheya considers. Before, I obeyed my culture. Now I choose to honor it. Race whistles low. That's either very poetic or very dangerous. To some, she agrees. To me, it's liberating. The dome chimes. A ripple of blue-gold arcs across the ceiling, signaling the end of the bonding interval. Slowly, the chamber's light returns to neutral. The mat beneath them recedes into the floor. The door that once opened silently now blooms wide with ceremony. Outside, the landscape hasn't changed, but everything feels different. As they step out, Race feels the cold air bite at his skin more sharply than before. Not because the weather has worsened, but because his perception has heightened. The ritual didn't alter his DNA, didn't implant tech, but somehow, Everything around him now hums with greater detail. He senses patterns in the wind, frequencies in the stillness, the edge of language in silence. "What did it do to me?" he asks, eyes scanning the horizon. "The dome enhanced your receptive fields," she says. "You're still human. But now, you carry Ajirathi echoes. It will fade over time, unless reinforced." "How?" "Emotion. Ritual. Choice." Race glances at her. "So this thing between us is yours to define now." That hits harder than he expects. They begin walking across the obsidian plain toward the ancient temple structures that dot the landscape. Liratheya leads him to a circular stone alcove embedded in the mountainside, hidden by shadow. As they approach, the stones shift, parting to reveal a narrow passage lit with pale green runes. "What's this?" "The harmonic vault," she says. "If the ritual completed correctly, the vault will recognize you. And if not," she shrugs, "it will collapse, taking us with it." He stops. "You always this cheerful after a soul bonding?" Liratheya looks at him, her expression unreadable. "This is the final test. Not of you. Of me." They enter. The passage curves inward, narrowing, until it opens into a chamber filled with suspended memory orbs. Hundreds of them, glowing spheres drifting in air, each holding the emotional imprint of an Ajirathi ancestor. As they walk through, the orbs pulse, reacting to Race's presence. One breaks formation and floats gently toward him. Liratheya steps back. "Place your hand on it." He does. The moment he touches it, an image floods his mind. Not a picture, but a sense. A woman not unlike Liratheya, standing on the edge of a collapsing starship, singing a final chord that tears space open. A farewell. A sacrifice. The feeling of giving everything for legacy. The orb dims, then flares once, and embeds a faint golden thread into the veins of Race's left hand. A mark. The vault sings a note. High. Triumphant. Liratheya exhales. It has chosen. Chosen what? You, she says simply. You are now bearer of the third house. I am no longer its speaker. Race turns toward her. Then what are you? She meets his gaze, steady and unflinching. Yours, if you accept me. The words hang in the silence. Not a romantic plea. Not a demand. A declaration of cultural clarity. You mean by their laws? No, she says. By mine. For the first time, Race doesn't deflect. Doesn't joke. He just nods. I don't know what this means, he admits, but I don't want to walk out of here alone. She takes his hand. You won't. The vault seals behind them. A star blinks overhead, and somewhere in the orbiting debris field, a signal begins to pulse, summoning ancient watchers who now detect something impossible. An Ajirathi line reborn, with a human pulse. Outside the temple, the sky over Ara 6 churns with electric dust. Violet clouds spiral across the horizon like painted memory, and twin moons cast elongated shadows across the fractured landscape. The air has that strange sterile sweetness of processed atmosphere, too clean to be real. Race and Liratheya stand side by side, but they're not alone anymore. 3 shapes descend from the sky. They arrive without sound, sleek, beetle-like craft that shimmer out of phase with the visible spectrum until they resolve just meters from the ground. When they land, the soil beneath them sings, a low, minor chord that even Race can feel vibrating in his chest. Liratheya stiffens. Protocol enforcers, she says under her breath. The central craft opens. 3 Ajirathi drones hover forth, humanoid in shape but faceless. Their exteriors are glassy, semi-transparent, and inside Race glimpses pulsing cords of glowing data. Not wires. Not circuitry. Memory. These are archival enforcers, living lawkeepers. They're beautiful, Race says. They're terrifying, Liratheya corrects. They only emerge when legacy conflicts are detected. One of the drones scans them, emitting a tone like a finger running the rim of a crystal goblet. Liratheya responds automatically, her posture shifting into formal symmetry. I, Liratheya of the third house, acknowledge your summons. The drone replies in layered tones, far too many to be translated by words alone. Yet Race somehow understands it, not through vocabulary, but through a kind of emotional resonance. The message is clear. This human bears the mark of succession. Explain. Liratheya turns to Race. Do not speak unless prompted. Let the dome speak through you. Race nods. The second drone approaches, scanning his left hand. The golden thread embedded their pulses, then expands, glowing brighter as it echoes the memory within. The drone halts. Silence. Then, unexpectedly, it emits a deep harmonic pulse that causes the third drone to respond in kind. The air shimmers. Liratheya's eyes widen. They are invoking the ancient accord. Is that good? It hasn't been invoked in 4,000 years. Oh, so no pressure. The drones encircle Race, who stands motionless, hands relaxed at his sides. Then, with coordinated precision, they emit a burst of projected glyphs, ancient, circular, alive. The symbols wrap around Race's body, scanning, syncing, judging. One by one, the drones emit verdict tones, minor key, major key, suspended sixth. Then silence. Finally, the central drone plays a note Race's body feels more than hears. His vision blurs. The world turns slightly sideways. The drone is singing his essence into the Ajirathi record. He doesn't know how he knows that. He just does. Liratheya watches, expression unreadable. The drone finishes. The glyphs collapse into a single symbol, which brands itself faintly on Race's palm before fading into his skin. Was that consent? He asks. Liratheya nods slowly. Recognition. Of what? Of your claim. The drones have accepted you as the air catalyst. The Ajirathi memory network now stores your resonance as part of its lineage logic. Race laughs, half-choked. I was a courier 2 years ago. Now, she says quietly, you are a house. The drones retract and vanish into the sky, leaving the air empty once more. They begin walking back toward the cliffside shelter, both silent. I thought this would be harder, Race says finally. It will be, Liratheya replies. This was only confirmation. The consequences have yet to arrive. As if summoned by her words, the air shifts again, this time with the sharp mechanical edge of a Terran Alliance signature beacon. A faint pulsing, rhythmic, unmistakably human. Race turns sharply. That's a scout ping. Yours? She asks. Not mine, and not friendly. They both break into a jog, ascending to a high ridge. From there, the atmosphere glows faintly with ripples of displacement. A human vessel, sleek, angular, black with gold insignia, drops out of stealth mode over the valley. That's a Vanguard retrieval ship, Race breathes. They're here for me. Liratheya doesn't blink. No, they're here for what you carry. What do you mean? She turns to him, voice grim. When you completed the attunement, you didn't just inherit a title. You inherited secrets, Ajirathi knowledge embedded in ritual, star maps, code forms, biogenic protocols. You're saying my brain is classified? Your soul is, she says. At least by their standards. Race stares at the descending ship. I can't go back. They'll never let this stand. Not the bond. Not the drones ruling. Liratheya steps closer. Then we don't let them decide. You suggesting we run? She smiles, small, sharp. I'm suggesting we fly. The temple behind them pulses once, and the echo carries farther than it should. Into the sky, into orbit, into signal bands that haven't been used since the time of stellar coronations. Race nods, breath shallow. Okay then. We disappear. Liratheya extends her hand. Together? Together. The cliff trembles beneath them as the retrieval ship descends. And beneath that tremble, deeper still, something else awakens. A chamber. A vault. A ship not flown in eons, and now keyed to the pulse of a human heart. The cliffside fractures with a sound like stone exhaling memory. Beneath Race and Liratheya, an ancient seam opens. No fanfare, no mechanical hiss, just the quiet unfolding of something very old and very alive. Dust falls in thin, glittering sheets. The rock itself recedes like water parting for a ship. And there it is, a vessel cradled in the bedrock. It gleams with lightless energy, curved like bone and sculpted like music, an Ajirathi starcraft, not built but grown, forged in the crucible of ritual rather than industry. Its surface shimmers with dormant glyphs, black as obsidian and silver-veined. Race has never seen anything like it. No cockpit, no engines, no seams. Is it a ship? He asks. It is a memory chamber, Liratheya says, awed. A sovereign vessel of the third house. Its voice has not been heard in 1,000 years. And it's mine now. Your resonance awoke it. The ritual changed you more than you know. Race steps forward, and the ship responds instantly, its surface blooming with light under his feet. Each step leaves a fading trail of gold. When he nears the central core, a section of the hull unfurls like a flower and reveals a translucent bridge. The entry is not mechanical but musical, a harmony that parts the ship's skin. Liratheya follows close behind, silent, reverent. Inside, the vessel is unlike any Terran construct. There are no controls in the traditional sense, only arcs of suspended memory, alive and humming. The space feels the wear. It's as if they've stepped inside a living story. This ship was meant to carry lineage, she says. It stores the lives of those who once bore its name. You'll feel them when you fly. That's comforting, Race mutters. A whole ghost crew in my skull. They do not judge. They observe. And they guide if you ask. One of the memory strands pulses brighter as they approach. It unfurls, projecting an image. A tall Ajirathi male in layered ceremonial robes, surrounded by stars. His voice resonates from the air itself. If you are hearing this, then I am gone. And you, stranger, are not Ajirathi. That means our cycle has ended. Good. Race's eyebrows lift. Well, that's welcoming. The projection continues. Our culture preserved its traditions so tightly we strangled them. If you are different, then you are needed. This vessel is yours. But only if you remember that it does not obey, it listens. Command nothing. Invite everything. The image fades. Liratheya looks stunned. That was Lord Varith, she whispers. The founder of the third house. He died in solitude. No one knew he left a message. I guess he wanted to talk to the guy who hijacked his bloodline, Race says, quietly respectful. He steps into the command cradle, and the ship responds like it's inhaling. Glyphs flare, and a wave of sensory data floods his mind. Not overwhelming, but deeply intimate. It's not knowledge, it's belonging. He understands now. This ship doesn't fly through space. It remembers its way across the stars. Outside, the retrieval vessel finally lands. Its stabilizers hiss against obsidian rock, and armored figures begin to emerge. Terran elite, faces masked, weapons calibrated to match alien shielding systems. These aren't just soldiers. They're containment teams. They'll breach in less than 2 minutes, Liratheya warns. Once they detect the ship, they'll initiate lockout codes. Then we don't give them the chance, Race replies, hands glowing faintly now, threads of Ajirathi code dancing between his fingertips. The ship senses his resolve and responds. The memory chamber tightens around them, a low hum building as kinetic nodes awaken from stasis. The whole vessel quivers, not like metal, but like something breathing. You're sinking to the command web, Liratheya says. But your physiology can handle it, he finishes. I've been sinking with bad ideas my whole life. A smile touches her lips. Then here's one more. She steps into the harmony field beside him. Together, their pulses align, and the ship sings, a rising tritone that shatters stealth fields and activates the external glyphs carved into the canyon walls. A blast of wind surges outward. The Terran soldiers stagger, weapons locking on, but the ship's hull is already lifting, separating from the cradle with no visible propulsion. Gravity obeys. The stone itself tilts to guide its ascent. The retrieval officer shouts, "Target is in possession of unknown Ajirathi technology." Repeat. Human pilot has activated legacy vessel. Above them, the starship blooms into full activation. Energy spirals into its wake, and the air hums with translated protocol. Memory integrity confirmed. Lineage accepted. Harmonic gate unlocked. Race speaks aloud, not sure where the words come from. Ajirathi Sequence 7, Initiate Vanish Vector. The ship responds without delay. A tear opens in the sky, not hyperspace, not warp. A memory fold. A line of time curled back into itself, recognizable only to those who remember the ancient paths. The ship enters the rift. And they are gone. Inside the vessel, silence returns. Race exhales, blinking as the stars shift around them. Liratheya leans lightly against the wall, breath steady but shallow. We just defied 2 civilizations, she says. I know, Race replies. I think I need a nap. The ship will provide a cradle chamber. It recognizes emotional depletion. That's comforting. They walk through a hallway that doesn't exist until they think about it. The walls respond to their mood, their pulse, even their thoughts. Soft light, not bright. Temperature just right. The door to the sleeping quarters forms out of silence. Inside, no beds. Just an embrace of memory, thick, slow, and safe. Liratheya glances at Race. This still falls under the law. What law? That we must spend the first night in resonance. Race sighs, half laughing. Of course, law never sleeps. But this time there's no tension, no obligation. He steps into the quiet, and Liratheya follows. 2 souls, 1 pulse, in a ship made of memory, drifting into dreams. The chamber softens as it seals behind them, like the closing of a thought. Race stands still for a moment, taking in the space. There are no corners, no harsh lights. The walls curve like the inside of a seashell, layered with bioluminescent threads that throb faintly to the rhythm of his breath. A low hum, just above perception, drapes the air, like a lullaby sung by the ship itself. He lets out a slow breath. This feels womb-like. Ajirathi tradition, Liratheya murmurs, stepping past him. The first resonance chamber was designed after our species' birthing nests. Safe, fluid, neutral. No wonder it's so easy to fall asleep here. It's not meant for sleep, she says softly. It's meant for truth. Race's smile fades. Oh. She settles onto a gently sloping part of the chamber wall, which molds beneath her like memory foam. You're afraid of what's coming. I'd be insane not to be. Liratheya pats the space beside her. He joins her without hesitation. The warmth of her presence is subtle, like a candle in a cold room. Not overpowering, just enough to matter. She says, this is the part of the rite where most pairs fail. Race glances at her. There's a rite after the ship escape, inheritance, and soul bonding. This is the rite without a name. No law governs it. No ritual prepares for it. He nods slowly. Let me guess. It's called dealing with each other. She smiles. More or less. They sit in silence for a long time, each adjusting to the gravity of the moment. Then she says, You haven't asked me about him. Race turns his head. Who? My bonded. The one before you. He waits, knowing better than to interrupt. We were paired by resonance at the age of 17, she continues. It wasn't romantic, not at first. But over time, our harmonics aligned beyond protocol. He was kind, unshakably logical. And I hated him for it. Race blinks. That's not where I thought that was going. He never wavered, never doubted the accord. He believed in the Ajirathi path with every breath. Even when the empires fell. Even when the memory cores cracked. Even when we were alone. What happened? Liratheya's voice tightens. He tried to preserve our legacy by fusing with an echonet during a memory storm. Thought he could stabilize it, sing his pattern into the breach. He succeeded. For 17 seconds. Long enough to save our enclave. Race exhales. And then, he died. But not all at once. The net retained fragments. I hear him sometimes when I dream. Pieces. Static emotions. His last chord played on loop. Silence again. Race places his hand near hers, not touching. I'm not here to replace him. I know. But I'm also not here to be just a legacy platform. Liratheya turns to face him. Then what are you? He thinks. Not long, but deeply. I'm someone who got tired of carrying empty cargo, of running messages for other people's wars. And now, for the first time, I'm carrying something that actually matters. I don't know how to hold it yet, but I want to learn. Liratheya nods once, slow and solemn. That's all the bond asks. Race leans back. The chamber warms slightly, shifting its tone to something closer to ocean tide. Not sound, not exactly, but emotional frequency. The ship is pleased. Or soothed. He smirks. This thing really is alive, huh? Liratheya answers, her voice low. Some Ajirathi scholars believe that memory itself is the fifth state of matter. That once enough memory condenses in a structure, consciousness becomes inevitable. Galactic philosophy always sounds like poetry and madness had a baby. Perhaps they did, she says. And perhaps that child built this ship. They settle into a shared quiet. Eventually, Liratheya removes the thin gold filaments from her temples, Ajirathi ceremonial censers. She places them into a stasis niche along the wall. The gesture is symbolic. She is no longer speaker, no longer emissary, just Liratheya. Race takes off his utility harness, folds it neatly, and places it beside hers. The moment feels weightier than it should, like two lives being set down for the night. He lies back on the curved platform and lets his gaze follow the pulse lines in the ceiling. They ripple gently like phosphorescent rivers. Do you think, he says softly, this will last? She doesn't answer right away. Then, Ajirathi bonds were designed to dissolve when no longer mutual. But the deepest ones, those formed through law and choice, become irreversible. Race considers that. I've always been better at breaking things, he says. Ships. Plans. Expectations. Liratheya turns toward him, closer now. Then this, she says, may be your first act of creation. He closes his eyes. Somewhere beneath them, the ship hums into its next cycle. Trajectory unknown. Destination irrelevant. Two lives entwined, not by duty, but by something far older. The act of being known, and choosing to remain. The stars outside the hull begin to blur. Not because of speed, though the ship moves fast enough to mock the limits of Terran physics, but because the vessel has initiated what the Ajirathi called spatial dreaming. It is less a mode of travel and more a form of drift, where destination emerges from intent, not coordinates. The ship follows memory threads through space, each one wrapped around a decision once made, or one waiting to be made. Race watches the stars smudge into amber streaks through a viewport that wasn't there an hour ago. It had formed while he slept, opening like a slow blink in the wall. The chamber remains dim and womb-warm, with the steady cadence of the ship's hum brushing against his chest. Liratheya stirs beside him. She doesn't speak, but he feels the difference instantly. Her breath pattern is shifted, her posture less guarded. Something in the ritual, and the silence after, has changed her. You awake? He asks. I am, she replies, soft as breath, though I am not sure I've returned to myself. Race rolls onto his side, propping his head with one hand. What does that mean? I dreamed in harmonic recursion. I saw you, not as you are, but as you will be, seen through memory yet to be made. That's either beautiful or terrifying. Yes, she says. Both. She sits up. The wall opens a niche and offers a stream of silken robes, ones different from the ceremonial garb she'd worn until now. These are simpler, lighter, practical. Liratheya holds one in her hands for a moment, then says, The ship knows I no longer serve house law. Race stands and stretches. So what do you serve now? She looks at him. Choice. The moment stretches. Then the room shifts again. The ceiling flares once with orange-white light and pulses down through the floor. One soft jolt, like a heart skipping a beat. The ship is alerting them. Race steps to the command cradle. A glyph rises from the surface, a spinning spiral surrounded by reactive halos. What's that? A proximity ping, Liratheya says, narrowing her eyes. The ship has identified another resonance vessel, drifting without anchor. Race looks at her. Ajirathi? No, she says slowly. But old. Very old. The glyph sharpens into a projection, a large, fractured hulk suspended in the gravitational well of a collapsed gas giant. The vessel is clearly alien, jagged, blackened, coated in metallic spines. It resembles a cephalopod frozen mid-escape, with fractured tentacles spiraling into the void. Looks friendly, Race mutters. What is it? Classified by most species, Liratheya replies. But my house knew of them. Memory siphons. They drift in lost zones, feeding on what's left behind. Feeding on what? Matter? Emotion, she says. Residual trauma. Fear echoes. Mourning cycles. Race shudders. That's horrifying. Galactic scholars still argue whether they evolved or were engineered by some forgotten race. The ship pulses again, once, twice, then still. It's communicating, Liratheya whispers. It has detected us. Race leans over the interface. Can we steer away? No, she says. The Ajirathi vessel is locked into harmonic drift. Altering course during a soul resonance phase would rupture its memory threads. In other words, we're stuck sailing past a space ghost that eats grief. Liratheya gives him a tight smile. Welcome to Ajirathi diplomacy. The viewport darkens, the ship shifting into passive mode. As they drift past the siphon vessel, both Race and Liratheya feel it, not visually but emotionally. A pulse of sorrow, not their own. Old. Deep. Viral. It moves through them like a phantom limb, unclaimed but undeniable. Race suddenly tastes ash. He sees a girl he never knew whispering to a flower made of glass. He feels a mother's hand vanish mid-embrace. None of these memories are his. Is this what it feeds on? He asks, shivering. Yes, Liratheya says. The residue of civilizations that forgot how to mourn. And what happens if it wants more? The ship's core pulses 3 times in warning. Liratheya looks at Race, alarm blooming across her features. It's trying to connect, to draw out our grief. Race clenches his jaw. Then we give it something else. He runs to the central core and places both palms on the command web. The ship flares under his touch. Race, what are you doing? Feeding it something we choose to remember. He closes his eyes and begins. Not a battle, not a loss, but a quiet moment from Earth. A vendor in a spaceport giving him an extra slice of fruit for no reason. The warmth of a stranger's kindness. A joke shared with a dead friend. The sound of a laugh on a night when everything else had broken. The memory shines. The ship magnifies it, projecting it outward, slow, golden ripples flowing through vacuum toward the siphon. It pauses. The siphon halts its draw. Liratheya steps beside him, uncertain. It's listening. Race opens his eyes, still focused. Then let's teach it something new. She joins him, touching the web. Her own memories join his, not of pain, but of healing. The soft chant of her first music trial. A garden where petals responded to pitch. A shared gaze with her lost bonded, not at the end, but at their beginning. The siphon pulses once, and retracts. It releases its hunger, just slightly, then resumes its drift. Their ship exhales, if such a thing is possible. The cabin lights shift back to neutral. The harmonic fields stabilize. Race sags with relief. Well, that was mildly traumatic. Liratheya touches his shoulder. You repelled a predator with joy. Do you realize how rare that is? He smiles faintly. Humans might be emotionally chaotic, but we're not all broken. No, she says. Some of you sing in the dark. The stars outside realign. The ship returns to its dreaming. And the two of them, still tethered by pulse and memory, drift onward, knowing now that not all grief must be consumed. Some of it can be transformed. The ship sleeps again. Not fully, but enough to restore calm. Enough to let silence settle in the seams between heartbeats. Race and Liratheya remain in the resonance chamber, though the walls have shifted, becoming less cocoon, more observatory. The ceiling stretches open to reveal a dome of stars that don't quite match any Terran chart. Liratheya gazes upward. We are off the galactic registry grid. Race squints. How far? Far enough that even light isn't entirely sure what direction to follow. He laughs softly. And yet, somehow, I'm not panicking. That is the resonance, she says. The bond quiets the survival instinct in favor of trust. Is that safe? No, she replies. But it's honest. They sit together under the stars, quiet again. The moment is deep, comfortably so. But Race can feel something different humming at the edge of Liratheya's posture. Not danger. Not grief. Warmth. She leans slightly toward him. Not a movement born of habit, but one of choice. As though, finally, the line between duty and desire has softened enough to cross. You feel different, she says. Race raises an eyebrow. In what way? The resonance usually fades after attunement. It stabilizes. But with you, she shakes her head, unsure. It's expanding, reaching into places it shouldn't. You say that like it's a bad thing. It is not bad, she admits. It is unexpected. Race leans back against the wall, watching her from the corner of his eye. You ever consider that maybe the reason your people stopped evolving wasn't because they lost tradition, but because they stopped being surprised? Liratheya tilts her head, considering. We began to treat emotion as a tool, a system to regulate, but you treat it as a compass, even when it leads into fire. That's how we survive, Race says. We don't trust maps. We trust the guy who says, follow me, and jumps anyway. Liratheya looks at him with something that might almost be awe. And yet you keep walking toward species who want to kill you. Well, he smirks, that's just bad luck. She laughs, really laughs, for the first time. The sound is sharp, melodic, and cuts the quiet like a falling star. Race smiles, suddenly conscious of how close they are. The dome above shifts subtly in hue, from cool blues to a warmer copper gold. The ship, sensitive as ever, is responding to their emotional proximity. It's reading us, he says. It always does. Is it going to log this moment? Liratheya's expression sobers. Every harmonic fluctuation is stored. This ship records not just events, but feeling, intention. So we're an audiobook now. More like a poem, she murmurs. Or a warning. Race chuckles, then quiets. What happens if the Terran Alliance finds us again? Liratheya is still for a moment. Then, they'll attempt extraction. But they won't risk open conflict over a sovereign Ajirathi vessel, especially one carrying ancestral memory. Diplomatically, that would be catastrophic. So we're a political liability now. No, she says. We're a paradox. A human with Ajirathi legacy. An alien who followed her heart, not her hierarchy. Neither side knows what to do with us. He exhales. I think I can live with that. Then, softly, can you? Liratheya looks at him, really looks. Her eyes catch the starlight pouring in from the open dome. The gold veins on her skin shimmer faintly, as though echoing a truth she hasn't yet spoken. I think, she says, that I've never been more alive. There is no need for words after that. They shift again, lying side by side beneath the stars, the ship forming subtle ridges beneath them like the rise and fall of a heartbeat. After some time, Race whispers, what if this is the only quiet we ever get? Liratheya's reply is instant. Then we remember it. And they do. For the next few hours, nothing intrudes. No pings. No alerts. No ghosts. The ship glides through the fold like a thought not yet spoken. Every now and then, a ripple of golden memory runs along its spine, replaying a chord from earlier, a flash of laughter, a touch that meant more than the moment allowed. They are not lovers. Not yet. But something in the ship seems to believe they will be. It projects a new star path, a trail of energy unfurling into dark space. Race points to it. What's that? Liratheya studies it. A suggestion. From the ship. From the memory within. He frowns. You think it wants us to go somewhere specific? I think it's asking, she says, almost with reverence. Not telling. Race stares at the unfolding path. Then maybe it's time to stop running. She looks at him. Or maybe, she says gently, we finally run towards something. Their eyes meet again. And for the first time since the ritual began, neither of them looks away. The suggested path curves like a ribbon of thought across the starscape, elegant, luminous, and entirely non-Euclidean. It doesn't point toward any known system. In fact, as Race checks the ship's internal overlays, he realizes the coordinates aren't even in Terran format. They're harmonic, a set of emotional frequencies encoded into direction. He frowns. It's not plotting in real space. No, Liratheya says, reading the spiraling pattern as if it were sheet music. It's mapping a bond vector. That a fancy way of saying, follow your heart. In Ajirathi philosophy, it's believed that the strongest choices echo backward and forward in time, creating threads that even memory can't unwind. Race narrows his eyes. So the ship isn't following a location. It's following a moment. Liratheya nods. A convergence. A place where emotion and legacy intersect. And what's there? Her voice is barely audible. The future. He stares at the glowing line, feeling both overwhelmed and absurdly calm. You trust it? I trust you, she says, without hesitation. Race looks at her, genuinely startled by the simplicity of the answer. He doesn't know what to say to that, so he just reaches out and touches the command cradle. The ship responds, not with a jump or a lurch, but with a release, like a sigh that's been held for centuries. The lights dim. The dome contracts gently. The memory threads tighten around their chosen path. The ship accelerates. They pass through layers of space untouched by current star charts. Ancient debris fields curl around dead systems, the remnants of civilizations that never encountered humanity, but may have dreamed of them. At one point, a massive sculpture drifts by, a half-shattered orbital ring in the shape of a helix. Dozens of stone faces stare out from its outer curve, their expressions serene and alien. Race whispers, "What is that?" Liratheya's brow furrows. A monument, the harmonists of Liratheya. They believed peace could be encoded into the orbits of celestial bodies. Did it work? For a time, until their own mathematics betrayed them. The orbit failed, so did the peace. Race shakes his head. Poetic and tragic. Galactic civilizations, Liratheya says, tend to end in poetry. They pass a shattered moon with glyphs burned into its surface, too large to read, too old to translate. And yet Race feels something as they drift by, a pang of recognition in the back of his mind. Not memory. Inheritance. The Ajirathi ship is showing him not only where they're going, but why he, a human, must go there. Hours pass, or perhaps minutes. In harmonic drift, time is less of a ruler and more of a rumor. Eventually, the ship begins to slow. The stars outside stabilize. One in particular grows larger, an orange dwarf star surrounded by 3 planets, none of which appear on the Terran registry. The ship directs their gaze toward the smallest planet, barely more than a moon, covered in iridescent sand and crisscrossed by deep canyons glowing faintly with embedded crystal. What's down there? Race asks. Unclear, Liratheya says. But the ship's memory cords are pulsing. This is the place. The vessel descends gently. There are no ports, no cities, no structures. Just the pulse of something beneath the surface, waiting. When they land, the ship opens its side in silence. A walkway forms from strands of hardened memory, laced with golden fractals. It leads them directly onto the desert floor. The sand is warm beneath their boots. Race turns slowly, scanning the horizon. This place feels like it knows us. Liratheya's gaze drifts to the canyon ahead. Because it does. They walk together, the sun low and heavy, casting long shadows. As they reach the lip of the canyon, the ground responds, panels unfolding from beneath the sand, rising into formation like a forgotten stage awakening for one final performance. In the center, a circular platform glows with soft light. They step onto it. Without instruction, Race kneels. Liratheya does the same across from him. The platform begins to resonate. And then they hear it. A voice. Not mechanical. Not synthetic. Alive. Ajirathi bond complete. Legacy bearer confirmed. Initiate final memory convergence. The ground beneath them becomes translucent. Images swirl. Scenes emerge, not from the past, but from a possible future. They see themselves older. Together. Not as fugitives, but as founders. A child runs through crystalline fields. Her hair a silver-gold blend. Her skin sun-touched and faintly veined with light. She laughs in 2 languages at once. Human and Ajirathi. Race's heart catches. Liratheya touches the image, breathless. She's ours, Race finishes, eyes wide. The platform speaks once more. Future not guaranteed, but possible. Choice remains. And then the image fades. They sit there in silence, hearts pounding, the future like a song just beginning to be written. What now? Race whispers. Liratheya smiles, her voice a whisper of resonance. Now we remember what we saw. And they do. The path back to the ship is quieter, heavier. Not with dread, but with something closer to reverence. Race walks beside Liratheya through the crystalline canyon, every step echoing against the glowing mineral walls. The world around them seems to pulse with remembered music, even though no sound is playing. The air has a certain clarity now, as if the very atoms understand that something important just happened. They saw a future. Not a prophecy, not a certainty, but a possibility so vivid that even the ship paused to let it form. Race keeps glancing at Liratheya, half expecting her to brush it off as a neural simulation, a manufactured hallucination. But she doesn't. She walks silently, chin high, face serene, but her hand occasionally grazes her midsection in a way he doesn't miss. Protective, curious, maybe even hopeful. At last they return to the ship. Its form has shifted again, slightly more angular now, more open along its flanks. The harmonics have deepened too, no longer fluttery and uncertain but stable. Confident. The ship has accepted the convergence, Liratheya says, reading the aura emanating from the hull. It is now a narrative vessel. Race raises an eyebrow. That sounds fancy. What does that mean? It will now carry the potential of our choices in its living code. Our memories are no longer personal. They are part of the ship's myth. So we're not just passengers. No, we're the story. They step aboard. The doors seal with a low exhale, and the interior shifts once more, this time expanding into a two-level structure with branching pathways. A bridge above, quarters below. A space that reflects not just utility but life. The ship is preparing for something long-term, maybe even permanent. Race touches the command cradle and watches as the star map blooms around them. Dozens of points of light, some bright, some flickering, others blacked out entirely. Each one a system tied to Ajirathi memory. Many of them he recognizes from Liratheya's earlier stories, but several are marked differently, outlined in soft white. He reaches toward one, and the ship pings softly. Uncatalogued species. Emotional resonance high. Conflict unresolved. Another. Human outpost abandoned. Emotional residue, guilt, courage, regret. Race looks at Liratheya. It's offering missions? Not quite, she says. Opportunities. Places where the ship believes we can restore memory or redirect it. You mean like help? Yes, but not as heroes, as witnesses, carriers of emotional inheritance. He steps back, absorbing it. This is bigger than us. She nods, and then her face darkens. What is it? He asks. She points to one point on the edge of the map, flickering, sharp, wrapped in broken rings. Draxian territory. Classification volatile. Objective, extraction denied. Race frowns. That was on the earlier mission manifest. Outpost Helix. Liratheya's tone flattens. It's where we were originally headed. Before all of this. What's happening there? She hesitates, then says, the Ajirathi weren't the only ones experimenting with emotional legacy. The Draxians tried to reverse engineer resonance bonding. They failed. Violently. And now they're trying again. With human subjects. Race's face hardens. That can't be legal. It's not, but legality means little on the outer rim. He stares at the map. The flickering light pulses again, this time with a hue that feels personal. The ship is asking, not commanding, not routing, but inviting. Liratheya places her hand next to his on the command cradle. We don't have to go there, she says quietly. This is our vessel now, our journey. We choose the story. Race's jaw sets. No one should have their memory rewritten. Or stolen. Agreed. He glances at her. Then what's stopping us? She smiles. Only fear. And what do your people say about fear? That it is the shadow of untold memory. He chuckles. That's unnecessarily poetic. She shrugs. We are a poetic species. Race squeezes the cradle. The ship pulses. Decision made. The trajectory shifts. The stars realign. And once again, they vanish into harmonic drift. Two souls, one pulse, headed toward a place where pain still lingers and stories are still being written. As the ship accelerates, the cabin dims to a quiet glow. Race steps back from the controls, the adrenaline giving way to a deep, aching calm. Liratheya watches him. You were quick to choose. I've made worse decisions in less time, he replies. No regrets? He pauses. One. She arches an eyebrow. Which is? That we didn't start this journey sooner. Liratheya says nothing. She simply crosses the room, leans into him, and rests her forehead against his. An Ajirathi gesture not of romance, but of alignment. I would not have heard you then, she says softly. I would not have known what to say. They remain like that, quiet, as the ship drifts across lightless space. Ahead, danger, memory, and maybe a child's laughter somewhere in the unknown. Behind them, nothing they wish to return to. And between it all, the soundless hum of a vessel born from law, carried by emotion and now, finally, driven by choice. The approach to Draxian territory is not marked by alarms or blinking warnings, but by a sudden silence, so profound it seems to stretch between molecules. The harmonic map dims. External frequencies fade. The ship itself becomes contemplative, like a breath being held before a memory resurfaces. Race notices it first. The hum stopped. Liratheya nods. This is null space. The Draxians use it as a defensive buffer. It dampens psionic fields, slows neural latency, and... Wait, it slows the brain. For most species. The Ajirathi designed around it. But even then, she trails off. It's not comfortable. Race rubs his temple. A faint pressure pulses behind his eyes, like a headache just beginning to ask permission. The ship shifts its structure, walls curving tighter, lighting lowering to soft crimson. A small projection rises from the floor. It shows the outer shell of a Draxian station, angular, encrusted with sensor towers, its surface bristling with dampening spines. Liratheya gestures toward the display. That's it. Outpost Helix. Ray studies it. Looks like a porcupine with trust issues. There are humans inside, she says. We detected them on the last flyby. Subjects of something the Draxians are calling Project Ecliptone. Sounds friendly. It's not. They're using hybrid neural pathways to try and simulate Ajirathi resonance without bonding. They induce emotional states using injected memory fragments. Artificial trauma loops. Race's fists clench. They're torturing them. In the name of progress, yes. He stares at the outpost, the quiet tension building inside his chest. How do we get in without triggering defense protocols? Liratheya smiles, cold and calculated. We don't. We let them find us. Race blinks. That's the plan. The Ajirathi vessel's resonance signature is incompatible with Draxian encryption. Their systems will scan it. Scan us. When they detect my patterns mixed with yours, they'll think we're the proof they've been seeking. So we're the bait. She nods. They'll bring us inside. Race exhales. And once we're in, we remind them why memory is sacred. The ship drifts forward. As expected, the outpost reacts almost instantly. A cone of scanning energy wraps around the hull. Race watches the readouts flash, first red, then white, then an unfamiliar color that seems to resonate rather than appear. A pause. Then, docking arms extend from the station. They are pulled in without resistance. Inside, gravity anchors them roughly. The ship releases a low tone, more irritated than injured. The doors open into a chamber lit in surgical blue. Race and Liratheya step into it side by side. They are met by Draxian officers, tall, scaled, half-biological. Their skin glimmers with wet iridescence, and their mechanical augmentations click rhythmically with their breathing. None speak, but all listen. Race can feel it, the quiet probing. Not words, not images, Just pressure. A psychic testing. Humans, a voice rasps at last. It comes from behind a layered veil of kinetic shielding. A Draxian scientist, older, adorned in thin robes woven with living threads. You have brought the vessel, it says. Race says nothing. The Draxian turns its gaze to Liratheya. And you, speaker of memory, long have we hunted your kind. Now you bring yourself here. Liratheya's reply is calm. I bring truth, not obedience. The Draxian tilts its head. You and the human are bonded? Yes. Willingly? Yes. And the child? Race stiffens. There is no child, Liratheya replies evenly. Yet, the Draxian says. But your aura patterns suggest conception probability. Over 82%. Fascinating. Back off, Race growls. The Draxian smiles with its eyes, though its mouth does not move. You misunderstand. We will not harm you. You are valuable. Proof. What we could not engineer, you became. Naturally. A symbiotic resonance between species. We must know how. Liratheya steps forward. You cannot replicate what was born from choice. But we can simulate the consequences, the Draxian replies. That will suffice. Suddenly, Race's head explodes with soundless noise, a rush of impressions. Laughter, fear, childhood smells, dreams that don't belong to him. They come too fast, layered and chaotic. A scream that isn't his own echoes in the base of his skull. He collapses to one knee. Liratheya rushes to him. Stop. His mind isn't trained for compression. The Draxian gestures, and the pressure lessens. Race breathes, sweat beating on his brow. I'm fine, he mutters. You are not, Liratheya hisses. The Draxian seems unbothered. We will not probe further, for now. But we will extract the bonding thread from the Ajirathi vessel. Once isolated, we will seed it across our controlled subjects. You'll destroy them, Race says. They are already broken, the Draxian replies. We offer them purpose. Race pushes himself up, meeting its gaze. No, you offer them submission. Liratheya places a hand on his arm. Now. Race nods. Together, they close their eyes. The Ajirathi vessel, parked inside the hangar, seemingly inert, suddenly pulses. The light shifts. The air shakes. The Draxians recoil as the resonance wave bursts outward, silent to sound, but deafening to thought. All around them, systems flicker. Memory strands hidden in the walls begin to sing, triggered by the human Ajirathi bond. Race's voice is low but clear. You want to study our resonance? He steps forward. Then feel it. Liratheya sings one perfect note, high, clear, heartbreaking. And the Ajirathi ship responds with memory. Projected into every corner of the outpost, visible in every mind. Not data, not emotion, but empathic truth. A child held close in the last breath of war. A whisper between lovers before separation. The quiet courage of choosing to stay, when leaving would be easier. The Draxians stagger under it. Their psychic armor cracks, not physically, but in ways that can't be rebuilt. Some fall to their knees. One begins to weep, not knowing why. Liratheya turns to Race. We must find the human prisoners, before they erase what we've given. He nods. They run, hand in hand, into the chaos, past stunned guards and failing lights, into the heart of a station collapsing not from violence, but from the unbearable weight of feeling. The inner corridors of Outpost Helix spiral like a shell, each turn narrower, each layer more fortified. But the resonance pulse has fractured its order. Security systems flicker in confusion. Gravity fails in short bursts. Psychic dampeners hiccup between frequencies. Race and Liratheya move fast, guided not by maps, but by memory sent, the ship's bond still tethered to them, whispering directions through instinct rather than instruction. We're close, Liratheya says, breath sharp but steady. The containment sector should be 2 levels down. Race slides beneath a half-sealed door, then reaches back to pull her through. His muscles burn, but he welcomes it. It's the kind of exhaustion that means something. They round a corner and stop. A glass wall separates them from a holding chamber. Inside, 5 humans. Pale, disoriented, each restrained in upright neural braces. Thin tendrils stretch from crown to collarbone, pulsing with borrowed emotion. Some twitch. One hums tunelessly to herself, eyes unfocused. Liratheya curses softly in her native tongue. They're in memory loop stasis. The Draxians are feeding them synthetic echoes, probably from our own resonance signature. Ray scans the interface. We can break the loop? Possibly. But it'll trigger a lockdown. Do it. She hesitates. If we fail, their minds will collapse. Race turns to her. Then don't fail. Their eyes lock. And in that moment, no ancient code, no political alliance, no species difference holds any relevance. Just intent. Liratheya places her hand on the control node. Her skin glows faintly as Ajirathi neural code streams from her fingertips, forming golden glyphs across the panel. One by one, the locks disengage. The first human gasps. The second collapses to her knees, sobbing. The third opens his eyes and whispers, "Mom." They're reintegrating, Liratheya breathes. Their original memories are fighting the implants. Race kneels beside the girl who'd been humming. She flinches, but doesn't recoil. "Hey," he says gently. "You're back now." She blinks. Her voice is hoarse. "Is this real?" "Yes," he says, taking her hand. "And you are real. They tried to make you forget that." Her fingers close around his like a lifeline. Then the station wails. A low, groaning tone that's more emotional than mechanical. The Draxians have rallied. One final defense mechanism engages, an echo inversion pulse. A last-ditch psychic countermeasure meant to force emotional resonance to collapse in on itself. "Liratheya," Race warns. "I know," she says, eyes wide. "If it detonates, the humans will lose everything. Can we stop it?" "No," she whispers. "But we can counter it." She reaches into her robes and draws a filament, slender and radiant, once part of her ceremonial mantle. She ties it around Race's wrist. "What's this?" "Our bond." Physicalized. She lifts his hand, pressing it to her chest, over her pulse. "Speak my name again." Race hesitates. Then, not with voice, but with vibration, he sings it, not aloud, but through the bond. A harmonic thread shaped not by language, but by intention. His voice is imperfect, human, but it's truthful. Liratheya's eyes fill with light. The ship, docked in the hangar, responds instantly. Another resonance pulse begins, but this one is inverse. It does not collapse. It absorbs, like a sponge for pain. The echo inversion tries to detonate, and fails. The wave hits a wall of empathy and shatters, dispersing as harmless harmonic static. The station goes quiet. Lights flicker back to steady glow. Braces disengage. The freed humans stare around in disbelief. Some cry. Others laugh. A few simply sit, stunned by the return of agency. A voice crackles through the station's PA. "We see now." Liratheya tenses. That's the Draxian speaker. The voice continues. "Emotion cannot be mimicked. Pain cannot be traded. You have shown us that resonance without choice is not power, it is madness." A long pause. Then, "Go. Leave with those you have freed. Your memory is now ours. We will not pursue." Race exhales. That sounded sincere. Liratheya watches the ceiling like it might still fall. They're not built for lies. But remember, understanding is not the same as forgiveness. 30 minutes later, they're back on the ship. The 5 rescued humans lie on biogenic mats in a converted memory chamber, where the vessel gently hums to calm their fractured synapses. One of them, a teenage boy with burned scars and clear eyes, pulls Race aside before resting. "Are you a soldier?" he asks. Race considers the question. "No," he says. "I'm something weirder." The boy nods like he understands, then sleeps. Liratheya meets Race on the observation deck. "You spoke my name again," she says. "You asked. I didn't think you would." He turns toward her. "You don't know me as well as you think." "Perhaps," she says. "But I'm learning." They watch the Draxian station fall away behind them, shrinking to a pale dot. Race murmurs, "You ever think maybe this whole thing, the ship, the bond, the war, all of it, it's not about memory or legacy or politics?" "Then what is it?" He looks at her. It's about reminding each other who we are. When the world tries to make us forget. She says nothing, but she steps closer and takes his hand. The ship plots a new course, not to a place, but to a time. A time not yet written. A time waiting to remember them. The ship sails quietly now. Its resonance is lower, slower, more like a heartbeat at rest than a call to arms. Somewhere between the stars and what's left behind, it glides through folded space like a vessel of living memory, no longer carrying just the stories of a fallen house, but the fragile beginnings of something entirely new. The 5 rescued humans sleep in stasis cradles nestled into the ship's central vault. The vessel monitors their neural pathways gently, like a library rebinding torn books. Each cradle pulses faintly with warm, amber light, memories not being rewritten but restored. Race watches them through a translucent panel. A part of him feels responsible in a way he hasn't felt since his earliest years running supply chains for post-collapse colonies. Back then, every shipment felt like it mattered, until bureaucracy dulled it all. Now, every breath feels like it might echo. Liratheya joins him. Her gaze lingers on the youngest of the group, a girl with copper-colored hair and a thin scar that curves from her chin to her throat. She has Ajirathi tones in her memory frequency, she murmurs. Race glances at her. How would that even be possible? They use my species' resonance imprint as a foundation. It's likely fragments of old recordings leaked into her echo cycle. And she survived that. Liratheya nods. Not untouched, but unbroken. They stand in silence. Then the ship does something unexpected. The internal lighting shifts. A new space opens near the core, a chamber neither of them had seen before. It's spherical, hollow. Floating in the center is a node, a pulse of energy shaped like a seed, wrapped in light. What is it? Race asks. Liratheya steps forward. Her eyes widen slightly. A Genesis kernel. Sounds important. It is, she says. Ajirathi vessels carry one only when ready to become generational ships. Race blinks. You mean when they're preparing to raise children? Yes. It offers localized environmental shaping, cultural transmission filters, even harmonic lullabies embedded into the walls. He swallows. Why is it activating now? She looks at him, steady. Because the vessel has detected a convergence. A possible future. She lets the words hang. Race steps to her side. Is this our we? Nothing has begun, she says gently. And yet, something is forming. He places a hand on the node. It responds, not with brightness, but with calm. A soft ring like a promise heard in a dream. Liratheya says nothing. She simply watches him. And for once, Race doesn't try to make a joke. Doesn't deflect. He says only, I'm not afraid. Later, they sit on the bridge, watching the stars swirl slowly in a near-silent rotation. The Ajirathi ship has entered drift resonance, a meditative state where it listens rather than travels, letting the occupants choose when to move again. The humans rest below. The ship rests around them. And they, Race and Liratheya, rest into each other, in a way that no law or ritual could have anticipated. Race sips from a thermos of recycled water and finally breaks the silence. I've been thinking. Oh no, Liratheya teases. He smirks. Not that kind of thinking. More like the kind that happens when you realize everything you ever thought about the galaxy was about 4 layers too shallow. She tilts her head. Go on. I used to think survival was enough. Just make it to the next day, next drop zone, next credit transfer. Stay alive long enough to pretend that mattered. And now, he says, I'm thinking survival isn't the point. She raises an eyebrow. He turns toward her. Meaning is. Liratheya watches him a long moment. Then she says, in Ajirathi philosophy there's a term, Veludar. It means to survive into significance. It's what we name our most important children. Race nods slowly. That might be the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. It's also a responsibility, she adds, to become a story that others want to remember. He leans back, watching the stars scroll. I think I want that. She smiles. I think you already are that. The ship pulses once, gently. A new signal blooms across the star map. Not danger, not distress, just invitation. A Terran Ajirathi joint colony, experimental, unaffiliated, open to memory bearers and legacy orphans alike. A place trying to begin again, free from both empire and alliance. Race studies the map. Do you think they'll accept us? Liratheya considers. We're bonded. We carry rescued souls. A sovereign ship. A seed of something that might change everything. She looks at him. They won't know what to do with us. Race grins. That's half the fun. He touches the interface. The ship stirs. Aligns. And once more they begin to move, not running, not hiding, but choosing. Toward a place where memory might become future. Where names are earned, not assigned. And where love is not written in code, but in resonance. The colony comes into view like a song halfway remembered. It isn't grand. No glittering spires or fleets of welcoming drones. Just a series of domes built into the crater of an old moon, cradled by canyons carved from time. Pale atmospheric shields shimmer faintly around the structures, and a thin trail of steam rises from geothermal vents along its edges. But the resonance, Race feels it before the ship finishes its descent. Hope. It lingers in the soil, in the metal, in the electromagnetic hum of crude comms equipment. Not the overconfident pride of Terran colonizers, nor the cold tradition of the Ajirathi, but something rarer, willingness. These people are trying, not to conquer, not to erase, but to listen. He glances at Liratheya. She's silent, expression unreadable. You okay? She nods slowly. I've never arrived anywhere I didn't have to apologize for existing. He considers that. Well, Race says, reaching for her hand. This time let me go first. The ship lands without fanfare. A group of mixed species administrators and engineers approach. Terran, Ajirathi, even two Draxians with faded diplomatic tattoos. They hesitate when they see Liratheya, but they bow when they see the vessel behind her. The ship's reputation has preceded them. Race introduces himself plainly. Liratheya does the same, but with a new addendum. Former Speaker of the Third House. Now, companion to the bearer of its seed. The phrase hangs in the air. A beat. And then one of the elders steps forward, a weathered Terran woman with circuitry tattoos etched into her skull like ivy. Her voice is gravel, but her smile is genuine. Welcome home, she says. No suspicion, no interrogation, just recognition. They're given space to rest, to observe, to choose. And over the following weeks, they do. Race helps rebuild a crashed geothermal regulator. Liratheya teaches harmonic sensitivity to a group of orphans born without memory implants. The rescued humans, once victims of Project Ecliptone, begin to integrate. The girl with the scar sings now, often and loudly. They name her Emry, a word that means light returning after loss. The Ajirathi ship hovers quietly at the colony's edge, neither demanding attention nor withdrawing. At night, it pulses gently with stored memories, like a hearth fire flickering behind glass. One day, Race and Liratheya return to the memory chamber. The Genesis kernel pulses brighter now. And Liratheya says, without preamble, it's time. Race doesn't ask for confirmation. He simply places his hand on hers. Together, they activate the kernel. 300-word wind down, story close. The ship hums with a different energy now. Softer. Slower. Not because it's wounded, but because it's settling. In the cradle of the colony's memory field, the vessel opens a new chamber, a nursery, not made of plastic or wire, but of folded sound and gently layered emotion. Here, time moves like a lullaby. Inside this cocoon of starlit quiet, Liratheya rests. Her skin glows faintly, not with ceremony, but with change. Race sits beside her, his hand resting over hers, steady and sure. They do not speak. They do not need to. Above them, the stars will silently across the ceiling of the chamber, mimicked by the ship's internal display. Each one a promise, a thread of future still unwritten. In a few hours, the child will begin to take shape, not only in biology but in legacy. Born of two peoples who once never spoke, raised in a vessel made from memory, but no longer ruled by it. Outside, the colony continues its quiet work. Gardens are planted. Songs are shared. A language is formed, not Ajirathi, not Terran, but something new. Something harmonic. And beneath it all, the bond holds. Not because of law, not because of ritual, but because once a girl joked that if a human spoke her true name, she'd be his forever. And he did. And she was. And now, they carry forward a resonance neither empire expected. A new story, a deeper truth, and the quiet, unstoppable rhythm of becoming. End of script. Sweet dreams.